Hello, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Living, Happy Life podcast. I'm your host, Denise Stegall. And for those of you who are listening, you won't know this, but for those of you who are watching me on video, you can see my background is a little different. Yes, I am not in my home studio, which is amazing because this is the power and the beauty of remote working. I am on vacation and wanted to talk about something that's really important. I'm down in Florida, and everything is growing here so beautifully. So it's something that I thought would be a fun conversation to talk about, considering I'm in an area where there are so many fruits and vegetables that are growing just naturally. For those of you who know, I live up in Minnesota where nothing is growing this time of year. But down here in Florida, of course, the weather is still warm and lots of things are growing. So today I want to talk about um, something that I think is really cool, and it's superfoods. Superfoods, right? You've heard that phrase so many times, right? What are they? They are nutrition packed ingredients that literally can transform your energy, your body, boost your mood, and really bring balance to life. I think that's one thing that we're always struggling. I never think that life is a complete balance, like everything is equal. But when one thing is really off kilter, it gets really wonky. By focusing on eating superfoods, you really can bring some stability or harmony. I like to use that word more and more nowadays. So bring some harmony back to the way you feel physically, emotionally, and mentally. As always, a diet, meaning the foods that you eat, begins with whole foods, as close to the way nature intended. So today, whether you're juggling career, family, or you just want to feel better in this stage of life, whatever stage of life that is, this episode is for you. So I want to talk to you about how superfoods can nourish your body, mind, and spirit. So think of this. Like imagine this. Imagine this. This is something you do probably every week. So I'm gonna have you imagine it again. Sorry, guys. Um, you're walking through the grocery store and you're filling your cart with all the items that you usually buy, right? But have you ever thought about how each one of those items could basically do more than satisfy your hunger? Most of us, of course, don't. We walk around the supermarket either picking up items that are on our list, which I highly recommend, or absentmindedly tossing items in the cart that look good at the moment, right? Never go food shopping when you're hungry, right? Um, but what if the food that you put in your cart can not only fuel your body, right? We need fuel, we need energy, just like your car needs gas, right? Fuel, but can enhance your vitality, like your energy, support your long-term health, and provide the energy you need, not just today, but the energy you need to stay vibrant and strong and healthy from today into next week, next year, next month, next decade, whatever it may be, right? That, my friends, is the power of foods. Um, Obviously, we know these are foods that are rich in vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and polyphenols that give your body kind of that extra boost towards optimal wellness. Now, I will talk about antioxidants and polyphenols in another episode and each one of them actually deserves an episode on their own. So just you know those are things that we'll talk about in entirety in another episode. So superfoods, what are some of them? These are things that are science has shown us truly that this is not just a buzzword. So superfoods are things like spinach and quinoa, berries, turmeric. These are all these things that keep your mind sharp and energized and resilient, especially for those of us who are in this midlife phase where day by day things are different, right? You feel different yesterday than you do today. You'll feel different next week than you do today. Sometimes you feel great, sometimes not so much, right? But when we focus on eating whole foods and especially focusing on the superfoods, we can have more of a consistent um, level of energy and feel good on a regular basis rather than have the ups and downs that often associated with menopause. Hmm. So let's take a little closer look. Why are these foods so powerful? Truly, as I mentioned, they're not a trend. Even though it's a trendy word, is kind of a buzzword, they're actually based by science. These are nutrient dense foods that, as I said, provide essential vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and the polyphenols that actually improve everything from heart health to cognitive function, the way you think, the way your mind ages. And let's be real, none of us are getting any younger, right? So I'm sure you've heard the phrase, eat the rainbow. And I don't mean the candy commercial. What that means is eat foods of all different colors. Natural colors there is, okay, Doritos do not count. That orange stuff that they put in it, that doesn't count here. Okay. By doing so, you give your body a vast array of nutrients, antioxidants that make these superfoods, well, super, right? Leafy greens, spinach, and kale. Now, the one thing I do have to mention, I mention this quite often when I'm talking about leafy greens, especially kale. My husband hates kale. He will not eat kale. So that's okay because there's so many other great healthy foods that have these antioxidants. Like I said, spinach, dandelion leaves, microgreens, all of those cool things. They have a ton of vitamin K. Why is that important? Vitamin K supports bone health. And we know as we get older, bone health is definitely can be a challenge, especially for certain women from different parts of the world who tend to be smaller, more petite. Bone density is really an important thing and something that we really do need to focus on. I mentioned berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, all of the different berries that are out there. They protect your brain. I'm definitely into the brain from oxidative stress, which potentially keeps your mind sharp longer, reduces your risk of cognitive decline, i.e., dementia, Alzheimer's. There is absolutely a link to antioxidants, these superfoods, and cognitive decline. Which I don't know about you guys, but if there's something I can eat to ward off or reduce the risk of Alzheimer's or dementia, we're going to be eating those, right? So I mentioned not protein, quinoa, which is protein. It is actually it looks like a grain. I think it's actually a legume, but it's considered a grain, but it is full of the 9 amino acids, which support muscle health and repair. Now, what amino acids do, most of the time we get our amino acids from lean meat, poultry, high quality fish, omega-3 fish, which of course is another brain brain healthy food, salmon, omega-3s. So again, this supports muscle health and repair. So protein is essential for us in this midlife stage because we tend to, as we get older, we do tend to, along with bone loss, we do tend to lose muscle mass. So if we're eating foods with high in quality protein, we're going to keep our muscle longer. Also, just a side note, if you're not lifting weights, it's something we need to talk about. But that's another episode in its entirety. Anyway, so if you're a busy professional, right, managing lots of responsibilities, adding these foods to your routine can make a world of difference. One, about how you feel, but also how you are at work, how quickly you recover from a challenge, how you deal with your employees. Obviously these are things that we should all be eating as women, but I specifically mention business women or professional women because as we go through menopause, we know we don't always feel great. And by eating the right foods and getting the right amount of sleep, and all of that will help us to not only do well at work, but to excel at work. And that's really what we want to do, right? Why be at work if you're just going to be there? So another thing that is another superfood that I like to talk about. And we don't use these enough in the US, are spices. Yes, herbs and spices. Specifically, just going to mention turmeric, powerhouse superfood. It's not only an antioxidant, but it's also an anti-inflammatory. And research has shown year after year that chronic inflammation is the root cause of many modern diseases. So I don't know about you guys, there again, adding some turmeric to adding it to a chicken meal, adding it to a rice dish. Um, the other day I was on Instagram, and Katie Couric she had a video where she was making one of these immune shots, and she had her help she had a whole thing of water, she had orange juice, or she was squeezing oranges and probably some lemons, and she added a ton of turmeric to this, mixed it all up in her blender and strained it, and then made these immune shots. Well, sure, you can go buy those at the supermarket. They're expensive if you buy them that way. So again, this is a great way to get some citrus juice, so a little bit of citrus. Of course, again, healthy vitamin C, but a great way to incorporate this turmeric without it being a big deal. Like, oh, how am I going to add this? There's a great way to do it right then and there. So how else can you incorporate superfoods into your daily life? Honestly, it's really not that difficult. It does take a little bit of planning and a little bit of mindfulness. So here's just a couple of things that I think make it easier for any of us who kind of want to overhaul our routine. Now, again, I use the word overhaul, but let's do that step by step, right? We don't want to change everything all at once because that's overwhelming. So pick one of these, right? Start strong in the morning. This is one of the things I like to do. Is either I have a smoothie in the morning, add some spinach, add some avocado. There's your healthy fats. Berries. There's your antioxidants, your superfood. Add a little bit of chia or flaxseed for some extra fiber, right? And some omega-3s. These are great. All of these are superfoods in themselves. And truly, I think the whole concept of the superfood, if we think of eating whole foods all the time, they're all super because they all give us the benefits of the nutrition, the macros, the protein, all the things that our body needs. If we're eating these foods, we're going to feel good. We're going to have the energy. And truly, the morning smoothie is quick and easy. Yeah, you can go buy something at the store, a powder or a liquid. Again, they're more expensive that way, and you don't really know what you're getting. Like, what are they putting in there? Are they putting in added artificial sugars or sugar at all? And these are things that don't really need in a morning shake, because if you're putting in the berries, you've already got sweet, right? Okay, so if you need a little sweet, a little bit of honey or maybe a little bit of stevia, and you're good to go. Okay, how about lunchtime? So, morning's not your thing. You just do, you have a cup of coffee in the morning and you're out the door fine. How about lunchtime? Before lunchtime, how about getting rid of, processed snacks? How many times do you go and, you get a salad or a salad, half a salad and a half a sandwich, and you get an option. Oh, would you like bread, chips, or an apple with that? And how many times do we pick the chips? Too many times. So let's get rid of the chips and pick things like almonds and walnuts, because again, we're going back to brain health. Um, these provide healthy fats, and truly, when it comes to brain health, we at this stage in life, we really do need to be very mindful. Again, if you're going to work, you have to think about bringing the almonds and the walnuts. But once you start incorporating them and feeling better, and looking better too, because your skin will start to feel better, look better too, when you start eating, really focusing on antioxidants. So again, we're still talking lunchtime. Salad together. You've ever seen those salad in a mason jar? They're so easy to make. First thing you do, you put, you put it all in the jar, you put the top, you even put the dressing on the bottom. So when you're ready, you can just either shake it up, or for those of you who are just listening, I'm just sitting here like shaking, pretending I'm shaking a container here. So this is a simple way to bring these healthy foods into your lunch. Add some, obviously leafy greens, maybe some quinoa, some grilled salmon. When I cook at night, I try to cook extra servings. This way, if it's chicken or it's salmon, I have some for the next day to go with lunch. I send my husband to work every single day with a salad with leftover protein for him to really not have to worry about, ooh, what am I going to eat today? It's already taken care of him. And again, salmon, rich in omega-3s, heart and brain health. Let's go to dinner. Okay, how do we incorporate nutrient-dense ingredients to our dinner? I know sometimes dinner is kind of rushed, we're running late, haven't thought about it. Again, this does take a little bit of planning and mindfulness. We'll talk about that another time as well. But I think it's really important. Roasting vegetables, sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts. You put them in the oven, 20 minutes, they're done. It's simple. Add a little bit of either olive oil or avocado oil, healthy fats. Then with dinner, have a side of leafy greens, maybe some lentils. These are foods that, one, give you long-lasting energy, and they also support immune function. We haven't talked about immune function for a while here. So again, if you're eating healthy foods and getting all of the nutrition that your body needs, you're not going to get sick that much. You'll start to notice that. I remember when I was in college, I had a friend who would eat Subway sandwiches like for lunch and dinner. I don't know that she ever ate breakfast, but that's all she ate was Subway sandwiches. And at one point, she looked so ill, like it looked like her skin had turned gray because she didn't have any real nutrition. Now, she wasn't hungry because her belly was full, but she wasn't eating real food. So it is important for me to reiterate that the key to doing this really is to make small, consistent changes. We know that when we go whole hog on something, that's never going to work, right? Over time, with these foods, you'll be obviously nourishing your body, improving your overall well-being, mind, body, spirit. Truly, you're going to feel better. You are physically going to feel better. So some of the, when I talk about mind, body, spirit, let's talk about that for a quick minute. The connection between what we eat and how we think is so powerful. Fatty fish, walnuts, flax seeds. I talked about this, right? These are essential for our brain health. If our brain is healthy, we're thinking more clearly. We have more improved focus, memory, mental clarity. All of these things are important no matter what. But for those of us who are going through menopause, it is important because how many times do we say, oh, I have a bit of a brain fog? Well, if you're eating well and paying attention to what you're eating, you will not experience brain fog because you're nourishing your mind, right? At some point, I will talk a little bit more about curing Alzheimer's disease.com, which is my friend Anna's nonprofit. And this is why this is so important to me. I'm working with her in her nonprofit, and we just see so clearly how food and cognitive decline are connected. So body, obviously, if you eat well, you have more energy. And not just energy to get through the day, like energy to, hey, I'm going to go try something new. I'm going to try a new strength training class or yoga, whatever it may be. Maybe it's something you've always wanted to do, but you just kind of go, yeah, I don't feel like it. You will feel like doing something, whether it's exercise or I hate to use the word exercise, whether it's some kind of physical activity. I mean, it could be, going for a hike. It could be doing anything that you've never done before that you always wanted to do. So again, leafy greens, rich in A and C, increase your immune system. I love increasing our immune system because if we increase our immune system, we stay healthy, we don't get sick. If we don't get sick, we feel good, we can do all the things we want to do, right? So consistently incorporating these foods are going to help you feel better, give you more energy, better digestion, and stronger physical resilience. I think that's really an important thing, resilience, right? The better you feel, the more you want to do things, the more you do things, the better you feel. So finally, superfoods, how do they impact your spirit? Whatever you call that. I think of this as the emotional well-being piece, right? And my favorite thing about when I talk about this, I talk about, have a piece of dark chocolate. Yeah, it's a treat. I'm not saying eat the whole packet or the whole bar of dark chocolate, but a piece of dark chocolate goes a long way. It's rich in magnesium, and magnesium will, at the end of the night or at the end of the day, when you're about to go to bed, and maybe your legs are tight, your muscles are a little tight. Magnesium is something that we are recommended to take. Well, why take a magnesium supplement if you can have a piece of dark chocolate and it works just as well? Again, this will help regulate your mood, alleviate any feelings of anxiety. It helps with stress. So, avocado seeds, rich in these healthy fats, contribute to stabilizing your mood and sense of emotional balance. Right? Again, turmeric is great for this. Uh, Especially when it comes to, like, adding this to your holistic practice. It's just such a simple thing to add. They've been using it for centuries in other parts of the world to promote emotional and spiritual well-being. So this is something, again, so simple that we can do. So let's see. Do we need to spend a lot of time, preparing these things? Again, this is something that I always say, a little bit of planning and a little bit of preparation goes a long way. So, no, you don't have to spend a lot of time. If you make a smoothie one day, make it double, right? Have one for the next day. I think that is so, so important. Um, is there a best superfood? This is a question that people ask me all the time for women 45 and over. Those of us that are in that menopause phase, perimenopause, menopause to postmenopause. Leafy greens, fatty fish, berries. Those are like the number one, two, and three. Can they all be number one? We're going to call them all number one because they're in different categories. Number one, vegetable, leafy greens. Number one, protein, fatty fish, and fruit would be your rich berries, blueberries, strawberries, all of those. Why? Support heart health, brain function, bone strength, all areas that we have to pay attention to as we get older. Let's see. How do we know if you're eating enough? Consistency is the key. It's never about perfection. We're never perfect. There is no, perfection is a myth. So if you incorporate a couple of these superfoods in each meal, over time you'll start to feel the difference, and you'll just know if you're being mindful about it and including them into your diet and your meals every day. You'll feel the benefits, the energy, the mental clarity, um, pretty quickly. So, in closing, let's see. I always want to reiterate that superfoods are more than a buzzword. They're not just trendy. These are powerful allies in helping you to feel vibrant, energized, balanced in your life. Yet, whether you're looking to boost your physical health, sharpen your mind, find a greater sense of emotional well-being, these are foods that play a significant role in supporting you along this, we'll call this holistic wellness journey, because it's not just about food, right? That's part of it. It's also about movement and sleep and connection and all of those pieces that I talk about in my book, Healthy Living, Happy Life, right? So today, I hope I've given you some really good information on superfoods. If you have any questions, please, reply in the comments, whether it's on YouTube or on if you're listening to this on podcast. Leave me a message, ask me a question. If you are on YouTube, please click the bell or ring the bell, and you'll get a message every time I have a new post. Same thing if you're listening on the podcast networks. Please give me a review and we'll keep connected. So thank you so much for joining me today on Healthy Living, Happy Life. I will look forward to your messages. Anything that I talked about today, there will be some information in the show notes. So until next time, remember, small mindful changes to your diet can lead to huge transformations in your overall health and well-being. Superfoods are superfoods for a reason, and they'll make you super special. Have a great day, everyone.